Howdy besties, welcome to Spitting Truths. This is our monthly show where we interview interesting people from the world of marketing, social media, business, and the world of entrepreneurship and all that kind of stuff. It's where we really get down to the nitty-gritty, the stuff that matters, because one of our catchphrases is no bull, just beef, and there is far too much bullshit out there in the world. So the people that we get on this show kind of speak the truth. And today I'm going to be speaking with Ian Dickson. Now, Ian Dickson's a really, really interesting character. He is a business coach to business coaches now, but before that was a business coach to business owners just like you. Also, he's ex-forces, so he was an ex-police officer, and then he was in a big corporate career, and some big stuff happened to him, and then he became a coach and has been for nearly 15 years. So we're going to be chatting to Ian about what's changed in 15 years, because ironically, 15 years ago, Facebook launched, and I'm a firm believer, although I wasn't in business back then, that things like digital marketing and tech have changed the world forever. But am I just talking absolute rubbish, or am I right? So I'm going to be asking Ian Dickson all that sort of stuff. In fact, let's just bring him in now. We had a little bit of a test earlier on, had a bit of a chat. Thanks to everyone tuning in. If you like what you're about to see, then please do hit the share button. I'm going to try and bring him in now because my notification's gone, so we'll try that. Ian pressed the little invite button because it's gone missing from my thing for some reason. I don't know why that's gone missing. Facebook is just having a moment. So we'll wait for Ian to click on that. But if you've got any questions, feel free to chuck them in. We're going to try and keep this nice and tight to about half an hour if we can. Although earlier on, just catching up, we seem to spend about 10 minutes talking about all sorts of stuff. So we'll just wait for Ian to click that little button on the green thing. I saw it pop up there, but it's not there at the moment. Let me just see what else I can do on here. There it is. Here it comes.
There we go.
God bless technology.
Oh, man. I saw it pop up and it disappeared, and then I tried to bring you in and it didn't work, which is why that button is the key to it all. And the sound's good, because we had a terrible sound issue, didn't we, when we tested as well, but we're there now.
And it looks like I've got fucking kidney failure, to be honest with you. I'm green.
I think it might be the background. Is that your studio there? Do you record all your videos there?
Yeah, well, I work in it's my office, and I'm very lucky to have a really lovely office at home. And so I've got space. If I was to turn this around, I've got a proper studio set up here. So, which means I can literally, I've got gadgets like this where I can literally just come in and press 3 buttons. All the lights come on, the cameras come on, and then I just press record. So otherwise, what happens is we don't do stuff because it's like going to the gym. It's a ball ache, and you think, I can't be asked. If I come in and press 3 buttons and go, I'm recording and I'm on green screen. So it's the only way I'll do it.
I've done the same thing. This is my exhibition stand, so I've taken the sides off it, the little circular bits, because they tend to get damaged, and that just sits behind my desk whenever we're not at a show. So when we go to a show, my office looks a bit weird now, because it's just, as you say, it's always there. My lights are always here. My tripod's always on my desk. It's a great point. Otherwise, you don't do it, do you?
First tip of the day, is the harder you make it, the less likely you'll do it. So
write it down, people. I love that tip. I wanted to grill you, if that's all right, because you've done some cool stuff. But let's talk about it first. You're actually an ex-copper, aren't you?
Yeah. See, Brad's always moaning about me because I don't talk about it enough. But geez, man, it was 1978. And a lot of people that watch this weren't even fucking born in 19...
I was born.
Right. So, and one of the things that my wife takes great pride in sharing with people is that when I was walking the streets of Brixton, she was born. So it's that's our age gap. So, so it was a long time ago, and I only did sort of 7, just short of 8 years. But I was working in Brixton in southwest London during the Maggie years. So I did the miners' strike, I did the Brixton riots, I did the Brighton bombing. I was actually in Brighton on night duty when the Maggie got blown up, for those that remember all of that stuff. And so for those 8 years, I probably saw more than most people ever see in their lives. It was amazing. So the most political police station in all of Europe. It was a really interesting time. So, and actually is part of, is absolutely who makes me the person, is what makes me the person that I am now, I guess. So
I think it all does. I think everything you experience, sometimes some people believe you have to experience it to do this. Some people think it's preset, but it doesn't really matter how you look at it and how you think it's all set out. You are the sum of the people you hang around with and the stuff you've done, aren't you? The things you've been through.
Yeah.
Let's talk about business and stuff. So, like, you started your coaching business, for want of a better word, 15 years ago? So 2004?
Yeah.
So
2004, yeah.
What brought that on? How did you get from, the forces to...
The short version is when I left the police force, I started a business selling spectacle frames. I was literally a salesman. It was like, what can somebody that's unqualified in business do? They can sell shit. So, I literally just used to sell spectacle frames. And the naivety of it made it very successful. Because I didn't have a clue, I was very successful at it. And there's another lesson, it's just that I absolutely didn't know that you weren't supposed to be making 120 calls a day back in 1986, but I was. So, and as consequently, I was successful. But I always wanted to be a corporate knob. I always wanted to be a big cheese. And when my mum died, that was like my thing. I thought, I'm definitely going to be this big cheese so that she'll look down on me proud. And I did it. I was the IT director for Marie Curie Cancer Care for 5 years. And then I went on to be an operations director for a big telecoms company for 5 years. And then in 2003/4, I got made redundant. It was the worst surprise party I've ever been to. I had no idea. So, so I came home, a huge, great fat check arrived. And I thought, I'm 44. What am I going to do with it? And I thought, I'm going to spend some of it on me and re-educate, relearn, retrain, and do what I want to do rather than what I thought I needed to do. So, and I haven't worked since. So, that's the short version.
Yeah. That's a great. I've heard the longer version of that story. And it is really, really cool. Have you done it on Foreign TV Live? On Foreign TV, have you done it on the recorded version somewhere?
I think. 4NTV Series 1, number 2.
Cool. Okay, I'll go.
I didn't want to go first. I wanted somebody else to go first, but I'm pretty sure I was number 2 or number 3. So, cool. God, that's a few years ago now as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about how it's changed then, because actually I was just saying before I brought you on, like 15 years ago when you started your business, that's when Facebook arrived into the world. That's when they founded, and obviously it started with small beginnings, just like other companies do. Has things like tech and social media, have they really changed the world, or is what used to work in 1978 still the same now? What's the difference?
How old is your little one?
She's 19 months old.
Right. So have you seen her in front of an iPad yet?
Yeah.
Does she swipe?
Yeah.
So that, like, it's right there in front of you. That's how much the world has changed. So your daughter won't know CDs, cassette tapes, DVDs, they'll all be gone. So she won't have. Somebody said to me the other day, "Who's Duran Duran?" It's like,
wow. Even I know.
I know I'm just coming up to 60, so I'm not a youngster. But geez, man, this is just like, so there is, like, it changes every year. It changes so much. So this is the business element of it is no different to the planet as a whole. And you must meet them, Todd. Just so many people that are still living 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I coach coaches that I spent a lot of last year going through reinvention for them because they were still working with very, very old content and very old ideas and very old marketing because they hadn't, and doing what I do, you've got to be at the cutting edge, the bleeding edge of these things. I certainly got to try and find it. So it's a bit of a rambling answer, but every element of it is pretty much different. So is what I would say.
So that spans across the standard stuff, like the way you set up a business, the way you run a business, the way you market a business, the way your team, because of course my team's all digital. I have Laura and my partner Joe that's physically in here. The rest of them are outsourced because we all work in the cloud. So I guess that's changed it all. Would you say like, certainly because this group's more about marketing and networking, has that changed massively because of the digital age and technology, social media?
So a story that I tell is an Einstein story, which is very briefly, he set an exam at one of the universities, Oxford or Cambridge, I have no idea which one. And, this could be an urban myth, but I love it as a story. He he set an exam, and as he was leaving the room, one of the other examiners said, "Didn't you set them that exam last year?" And Einstein said yes. And the other examiner said, "Well, then surely they're all going to know the answers." And he said, "No, no, no. The world we live in today, we're always asking the same questions, but this year the answers are going to be different." So in business, I get asked the same three questions: how do I make more money? How do I get more time off? And how do I get the best people? Those three questions fundamentally haven't changed. It's just how we resolve and go about achieving that purpose that has changed. Now, underneath that, there are still some elements, for example, networking that you mentioned, that is still fundamental to the success of business, but you must have seen it. The way in which we network has changed. So, and those that still stand up and do your classic 5 Ws, who, what, why, where, and how, and what have you, are the people that are struggling. You know, you've got to find new ways. You know, one of the other things I talk about is that people still say, well, what makes you unique? And even recently, I've seen stuff on some online TV stuff where people are talking about being unique. And for me, I don't think it's about being unique anymore. If you've only got to go on the motorway to look at the cars on the motorway, people don't want to be different. They're all grey, black or white, and they're all the same shape and size. So to within 3 or 4 categories. So as consumers, I actually think that we want to be recognised as belonging to something. And so trying hard to stand out and be fundamentally different can work. I'm not saying in all cases, but certainly in many cases in business can work against you. So one of the things that I talk about in the modern world of business that we talk about isn't about being unique. It's actually about being remarkable. What is it that I'm doing that makes my business remarkable? Because if you're doing something that makes your business remarkable, it means that people are talking about you in a positive light, not the fact that you're different. And this sits underneath this whole networking thing. We all talk about when we go networking. It's like one of the standard questions, you know, what makes you unique? Honestly, I think it's bullshit nowadays. I think this is about an age where we need everybody that's in our network to like us, know us, and trust us enough, and know that we're remarkable enough to be able to then go away and say nice things about us. So
how do you make sure people know you're remarkable? Is that down to marketing? Is it down to the way that you act and the things that you do, the content you create?
So I think that question is as hard to answer as the one it replaces. So in all honesty, you know, because there isn't much that's unique in the world. If anything, it's just reinvented and, you know, rewrapped. And so one of the great things about the fact that being remarkable is tough is it's only the toughest that get to be remarkable. So by definition, you are going to stand out, but you're going to stand out in a different way. So I wish it's a bit like what are the lottery numbers question. You know, how can I be remarkable? And as I say, I think it's as tough to answer as what can I do to be unique? But I'd much rather point people to that challenge rather than trying to do something to be different just for different sake. You know, bow ties and all of this kind of thing to be memorable is important, but don't do it just to be unique. Find ways in which you can be remarkable. So yeah, you know, I've got some things that I need to share. I do these top 10s. And I think it makes for a great top 10, you know, here's 10 great ways in which you can start to make yourself or your business remarkable. Yeah.
With the volume of stuff, as I know you're currently sat in your office studio, which is really cool. I'm going to get me one of them things with 3 buttons on. I want that. You obviously got a commitment because you say otherwise it's a barrier in place. So you see the value in creating content. How much content do you think people should be creating now for their businesses? Is it a case of we're all swamped and we shouldn't be creating more, or do you need to be creating better content? What's your view on it?
So content's an interesting word. So another topic, if you like, is this whole concept around being perceived or positioning yourself as an expert. And one of the core ways in which you can position yourself as an expert in the world that we live in today is to produce quality content. So whether that takes the form of this, you know, video content, whether it's in print, but it's content in the context with which you're asking the question. So one of the things which actually gives me an opportunity to share a tip. So is that if you can imagine your business as a trawler net, and if we're both going fishing, if my net is wider and deeper than yours, I'm surefire going to catch more fish than you. Now, I may catch some fish that I'm not trying to catch. So, you know, I might want or need to throw them back. And of course, ultimately, they're a waste of my time. But would you rather go fishing with a broad, deep net or a very niche, narrow, tiny net that is specifically designed for your fish? That's fine. But the world we live in today, I think the broader and deeper that you go, the more likely it is that people are going to find you. And an element of that is content production. The great thing about the platforms that we've got now is that you can produce a piece of content once and then multiple times repurpose that content. So, you know, a lot of people, again, you know, they'll produce content, a blog, for example, they'll write a blog article and they'll post their blog up and it's done. Well, you know, there's a case study, turn it into a video, you know, create an article on LinkedIn with it, turn it into a PowerPoint and put it on SlideShare. So I'd probably give you 10 ways in which you could repurpose a blog. So content, people get a bit concerned about how much content do I need to produce. I was talking to somebody the other day. They're on the radio every month. This is one of my clients who's on the I didn't even know. It's on the radio every month for 30 minutes. And I said to her, well, what happens with that content? She said, well, it goes on their website. I said, well, you need a copy of that. You need a copy of that, and you need to create a channel. You need to get it onto your social feeds. You can repurpose it. 6 months in, you can hash it together. Like, you know, I got excited just that I'd found out that she was doing it. So yeah. So yeah, it's content is important.
It's like stuff like this. I mean, this Facebook Live is in my little group, and whoever's around now live, it's cool. But then it's the replay version, so it'll get pinned to the group and then shared a bit later on. But I'll use the video content. We'll put that onto YouTube. We'll embed that into our blog. We'll send that out to our email list. We'll tweet the link to YouTube. We'll take the video content, maybe chop some snippets up, chuck them into Facebook groups. It's been shared already into 2 other places on Facebook. You know, as you say, like one piece of content. And I do think that's a stumbling block for a lot of people. They think they're going to create lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of pieces of content. Well, actually, if you've got a big piece of content, a big, nice, big chunky content, you can repurpose it and put it out there. Talking to channels and marketing and the content that you create, what would you say is your favorite kind of channel to put content out on? Where do you get the most traction and interaction from?
Well, it's certainly something I've consciously done since Twitter launched. So I don't know, what is that, 6 years, 7 years maybe?
No, it's 10 now. It's over 10 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So annually since Twitter launched, I try and give a primary focus to a platform for a year. Now, that doesn't mean that I put the other balls down. You've still got to juggle all the balls, but I'll try and, I'm using the try word because it's not always easy, but I'll give a primary focus to a platform for a 12-month period. And I'm still, so I picked up Facebook last year and worked really hard with Facebook, trying to understand it a bit better, and did some research and learned a lot about Facebook last year. So much so that there are things that Facebook are going to be doing either this year or certainly in the foreseeable that are going to change the way that Facebook works. And so I'm keen to make sure I stay with Facebook for the time being, because the whole groups thing is going to be really big. So yeah, and there's some changes coming that have commercial implications as business owners that are going to help. So. But YouTube's on my hit list for this year, so I'm gonna, I've created a new channel, and all the videos that I'm currently doing are gonna end up on there. I do have a YouTube channel, but I've reset. So there's no short answer to that question. They're all equally important. They're a bit like having different nets for different fish. Who'd have thought that 3-4 years ago that an estate agent would be able to make their living out of Facebook. I know a nutritionist that I've coached that makes a living out of Instagram with her product. So that's her primary platform. I know some people that use LinkedIn as their primary platform. Twitter, not so much so now. So it's a different medium, I think. So, but again, it's still equally important to be noisy on there. This is the word I use is noise, being noisy.
Yeah. What about with the networking? So you mentioned earlier, like some people are networking like it's 2014. You know, people are sort of stuck in their ways a little bit. Networking is a very, very traditional thing. I know that's how we met through Brad's network. I, much like Steph and Thomas, like to use the digital side of it to add to the networking side of it. When you say people are sort of networking like it was 5 years ago, what do you mean by that?
So here's the thing. So referral-based networking is still a thing, but I'm surprised it's still a thing. Okay, so there are people that, and I was one of those. So my introduction to business networking in 2004 was referral-based networking. I don't think those two things should be in the same sentence. You go to referral groups, I don't really think that that's networking. That's an inward-facing group. I think networking, for me, the clue's in the title. So old school networking, I think, is going with an expectation you're going to get something back, literally from the room or to that immediate network. And modern day networkers understand that your network is essentially your net worth. So the bigger network that you have, the more likely it is that your business is going to be successful for various reasons. Not going back to this digital platform thing, is that if you physically go networking and you shake hands and have breakfast with people and you get to know them and they never would be ever interested in buying your products or service, what will happen is when you come back and stick something up on Facebook, they will all like and share it. Now, they wouldn't have done that if you hadn't gone and had a sausage with them, even though they're not interested in buying your product. So I think this, like I say, I don't want to, I'm not a hater of referral-based networking. I'm just surprised that people come into what I call modern-day networking with a referral-based attitude and then say it doesn't work or it's not for them. So, which is, I guess, why these independent referral-based networking groups still exist. So, and they do work. You know, if you can get a strong group and the pink chits are being handed around the room, people are making money. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's networking. I just think it's something very different. So it's just that it's just where networking originated, if you like, and it's evolved. It's massively evolved. So
it's a bit like cold calling, which I wanted to talk to you about now, because you mentioned earlier you did like 120 cold calls in a day, and you didn't know that's what you were not supposed to do. You just did it anyway.
There was no internet. Listen, 1986, there was no internet. So
well, I remember the days before the internet, but it's harder for me to remember it than you. But I remember them. It was, I remember dial-up and all that kind of stuff, and using a phone with a long cable. But so with cold calling, I think a lot of people will quite happily admit they hate cold calling, and that's one of the things they avoid. Is now cold calling something we don't need to do as much because of all this cool stuff we've got going on? Or is it now becoming, some traditional stuff seems to be more powerful now? What do you think?
So there's a lady who I know is, she certainly was on here when we first dialed in, who I've coached since probably for over 10 years. One of the things she said to me, if you can give me back time, the first thing I'll do is go on the phone. So I love cold calling. So there are some of these crazy people out there that enjoy picking up the phone and speaking to people that they've not spoken to before because they're passionate about their product. They want to get that out there. So, for me, it's if you understand it and if you recognize what it is that you're doing and you apply some rules, then cold calling will sit in the suite of marketing activities that work. So my longest standing client, he must be with me 13 years now, was a cold call 13 years ago. So I live in proof that cold calling does work. It is shortest route. It is a bit like it's the Tinder of marketing. So that's how you it literally it is volume, straight out volume. Trying to find enough people to say yes to you, knowing that half of those yeses will drop before you get to see them, and then half again will be icy cold when you sit with them. So you massively scale down your conversion rate. So as long as you set yourself up appropriately for the cold calling cascade, or to get to that one, then that's fine. Somebody's posted up here, but buy your stuff. That the whole direct route to market does still definitely work.
Yeah.
But it's volume. You just have to scale up your volume. So
cool. Talk to me about the Big 100. I spotted a video on your website about this amazing event. I love the concept where you do. It's 100 people and you do 100 tips and it's 100 quid. Is that right? So, and it's a whole event. Tell us about that, because I love the concept. It's brilliant.
Right. So this year it's the Big 200. We can't do 200 tips because it is literally a tip every 3 minutes. Yeah. So, but it's 200 people. So because we've sold out every year, this year we're going to do the Big 200. It's 200 people, 100 business tips for 100 quid. So, but I was driving my car 2015, and I thought, one of the things that I'm very aware of, that one of the tips is actually, one of the big 100 tips is think like a mayfly. So is that you got like 24 hours, you got to, go away and make babies in 24 hours because you're gone in 24 hours. And mayflies have been on the planet billions of years longer than we have. So they've obviously got something right. So you've got to think like a mayfly and get things across very, very quickly. So I was thinking about, could I do 100 tips in a day? And which is very me. I just came home and I booked a venue and posted up, created an event and posted it up. And instantly I had about 27 people book. And then I thought, fuck, do I even know 100 tips? And then I thought, can I do that? Can I do it in a day? And then when I worked it out, it is a tip every 3 minutes. Once you've had your breaks and everything. So now you can imagine it's a tsunami of content. So what happened? It sounds like a bit like a sales pitch, but in all the years I've been doing this job, it's the most enjoyable thing that I've done. So because the energy in the room is amazing. So because it's literally bam, bam, bam. We've got no time for questions. It is one after another. And I promise people that if we fire 100 at you, there is no way you can leave this room without getting something. It's so a pound a tip, it's a pound a tip. So I went to a 4-day event.
Yeah.
I went to a 4-day event, and I got to tell you, it was, after about a day and a half, I got everything I needed. And I thought, this doesn't need to be 4 days. It was Brendan Burchard. Don't get me wrong, it was brilliant. So I thought, well, let's see if we can cram that kind of content into a day. So that's, and we gave it a go. It absolutely smashed. And as I say, every year now, I've done other spin-offs. So I do Big 50s for charity, which are half days. There's all sorts of stuff. I'm going to take it on the 4N network. Really? We're going to do 15 and 20, yeah. So
see, I love the concept. I love it for many reasons. I love it because it's a brilliantly sort of branded product, and you instantly see it and you get it. And I like the fact that I like the fact you look at it like, I know what I'm going to get. So there's no, I see so many events and I think, I don't know what that is. I like the fact it's cost effective, but you've done it en masse, which means it's a good day for you, but it's good for the other people. And I like the fact that what you've really done is repurposed your content, turned it into a workshop. Because that's what you've done, really, isn't it? You've got content like that everywhere, and you've just turned it into a day. I think it's great.
But here's the thing: every year, I'm not saying it's all new, but every year, this is how much things change. Every year, we introduce new content. I would say over half of my content for last year's was new content. So,
wow,
like completely new content. So
it's the opposite of Einstein. You're actually running different content because you're evolving with it,
but it's the same 3 questions. How do I get more people? How do I get more money? How do I get more time? So every business owner will be sat there writing those 3 things down. I need more time, I need more money, and I need the best people. So it's the same 3 challenges. So it's just how we get that changes. So, and sometimes it's this, sometimes it's the knowledge, and sometimes it's how do I do that? So how do I go about making that happen?
That's really interesting. Ian, I really, really appreciate your time. How can people find out more about you? Because half an hour is nowhere near enough time.
Before we came on, I did say to you, what should we talk about? I said, you've only got to press the button once and we'll just go over the place. So, right. So just really briefly. So there's an incredibly famous Ian Dickson. So it's not me. He's he's really famous. He's as big as what's his face? I keep forgetting his name. X Factor guy. Who's the guy that runs the X Factor?
Oh, Simon Cowell.
Simon Cowell, right? He's as big as Simon Cowell in Australia. So,
wow, okay.
And his name is exactly the same as mine, Ian Ross Dixon. That's my sort of full name, and his name is identical. Man. So how does that even happen? And so I spent a good 5 years trying to organically, if you type my name into Google anywhere in the world,
I'm going to do it.
If you type my name into Google, I'm on page 1.
So you're there.
There you go. So I'm like, it's like, yeah, I look skyward and I just say, Mum, that, you know, like, we did it. So I'm on page 1 of Google, anywhere on the planet. So yeah, so just type into Google. I'm a Facebook freak, so I'm on there every day. Like you, we've got groups over there. So Twitter, I'm in the global top 100 coaches to follow on Twitter. Where else? Yeah, all of the Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Yeah, just type me into Google. So
I like that. Good work. I'm pleased you're top. That's really nice. And actually, your Facebook and your LinkedIn is up there as well. So
yeah,
that's really.
Well, that's the importance of it. You know, people must send you this stuff. Todd, you know, it was like, I can get you 10,000 followers on Instagram, and you go check them out, and they've got 423, and you're thinking, what's going on? So, you know, I'm a business generalist. I don't purport to be specialist in these things. I employ the services of people like you for specialist activity. But as a generalist, I still have to turn up. You know, I still have to put on a good show. And so, you know, if I'm not represented well in the public domain, then, you know, I might as well go home. So because that's my job. So, yeah. Honestly, I get to learn all this stuff from my clients anyway. They're all guinea pigs. If there's any watching, you know, you pay me so that I can learn.
I do exactly the same. But it's constantly evolving all the time, and we're on the journey together.
And that's why I love it so much, to be honest with you. You know, those guys that I've been coaching for 13 years, there was 3 of them. They were doing 350 grand a year. They now do about 800,000 a month. And it's a massive business, you know, 18, 20 staff, 6.5, 7 million pound a year. And we've asked those same 3 questions every year. It's exactly the same, but how we've gone about it has completely changed. So there was no Amazon, no eBay, no Facebook. When they started, they were just selling product from a website. They now have 8 websites, and, you know, they're big on eBay and Amazon. And, you know, so we've done all that together. You know, well, they've done it, but I've just, you know, tickled them where they needed tickling to get them to and this year, they're doing video this year. They've never really done video. So we're going to get them into how-tos on video. So
it's really, really powerful. Listen, thank you very much, Ian, for spending some of your valuable time.
It just goes so quick.
Yeah, I know. It's good fun. We should just chat like this every week. Thanks to everyone for tuning in.
I'm hoping your listener found it useful. So there's quite a few people here I can see. So we've got a few faces I know and recognise. So
it'll be out there.
Fabulous. Right, cool. Good stuff. I enjoyed it. So it soon went, didn't it? So we'll catch up again soon. So
definitely.
In fact, I'm going to be. Mr. Nagels is on here. I'm doing a 4 networking tour in the summer. As I say, it's 15 and 20, and I'm going to talk to Mr. Nagels about it. He asked me, actually, said, let me control it. I'll just tell him when I'm available, and he's going to create a bit of a bun fight, I think, to work out where I'm going to be able to go during the tour. So
I'm sure I'll be involved in that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah, really strong group. So I'll definitely be up to you guys again. So
cool.
Right, well, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, you for tuning in, people. We'll catch up again soon.
Cheers, guys.
Bye for now. Cheers. Bye.